Welcome to East Coast Bias. Three guys love a bunch of different East Coast sports teams that we discuss in depth on the show. I'm your co-host Christian, along with my co-host Jack and Dan. Boys, I don't know why we decided to do a podcast around two New York football teams, but
what a time to start a podcast. Unbelievable.
Timing is everything.
Well, Dan, the Giants take on the 49ers. 49ers without 11 starters, 11 players. I don't believe the Giants entered the red zone. I don't believe the 49ers punted once.
Neither. You're correct on both counts.
We've often heard about how ugly the 1970s were for the Giants. I think this is rivaling the 1970s. What is there to say at this point?
I think it's safe to say the unhappy times are here again. Boy, this was just, a spanking on a new level. The 49ers basically pantsed the Giants on TV and played bongo with their butt cheeks. It was bad stuff. Poor Joe Judge, because, he's really between a rock and a hard place. He has not been given any help by general manager who in year 3 just completely obvious he has no idea what he's doing other than gathering 9 million defensive tackles.
Who can't rush the passer.
And it seems to be like this team just has no identity. Gettleman has said he wants to have this identity of run the ball and stop the run. Well, they can stop the run because they have those 9 million defensive tackles in the middle. Their strength is in the middle of the defense, as I said last week, at least on the line. But they can't run the ball, and they have an offensive line that pass blocks better than run blocks. I cannot figure out how they ended up at this point, and I bet you Gettleman can't because he's oblivious.
You're using those terms loosely, Dan, with pass block and run block. Do they block anything?
Look, if I'm going to say they do one better than the other, they definitely pass block better than they run block, because these run numbers, if you want to call them that, are just staggering in how poor they are. This is a team that it has no top level talent now with Barkley out. It has a lot of mid-level talent that it tries to sell as top level talent, and just guys, tons of just the guys, bottom level talent, barely NFL talent, quadruple A talent, if we're going to call it that, for the NFL, just littering the roster, and you can see it in the lack of depth. Kyle Shanahan just targeted the weaknesses of the Giants and just totally exploited them. And like I said, they just got their bare ass smacked on TV, and it's not very pretty.
Did anybody on either side of the ball play well for the Giants this weekend? I watched most of it, not all of it. It looked like
I'll give James Bradbury another shout out. He didn't play the greatest game because Kendrick Bourne got loose, but that was late in the second half. The defense had been on the field so much. The guy can't do everything by himself. He acquitted himself quite well in the first half. But other than that, I mean, not even Blake Martinez, who likewise had looked good in the first couple of weeks, looked great more than enough times down the field on these passing plays, these screen plays that the 49ers were running, offensive linemen running free and just sending Blake Martinez into the East Rutherford swamp. He was just getting launched by blockers down the field. And it was not a pretty sight for this blue-collar team that Joe Judge seems so intent on selling the fan base. They don't seem very blue-collar. I don't think they have any collar whatsoever. They certainly have no clue, that's for sure.
Yeah, they just stink. I mean, I don't know what else can you say? I mean, the whole organization from top to bottom, I'm not sure. I mean, if they have janitors, I'm sure their janitors suck at cleaning. I mean, the whole organization sucks. What else can you say?
Where do they go from here?
The 49ers missed 11 guys, and yet somehow they got guys running wide open every play. It's just a disaster. Astonishing. What are we doing? Why are we rooting for this team? I don't know what.
No talent. They got no talent. You
can't
out scheme no talent. They have. I mean, the Jets.
I think we're rooting
but you
for.
You can't out scheme. I mean, the 49ers have no talent. I mean, who the hell's Nick Mullins? I don't even know. Is that his name, Nick Mullins? I think it is.
Nick Mullins.
He looked like freaking Joe Montana.
He's a competent game manager and an offense that knows how to use them. And I think you look at if you're going to look at coaching, and like I said, I don't know that you can blame Joe Judge too terribly much because he's a first-time head coach with no, serious experience on either side of the ball, special teams guy. If you're going to look at one direction and who to blame in terms of the coaching staff, it's got to be Jason Garrett because this offense, it just seems like he has no idea how to really even use Daniel Jones. And that's obvious by the way they open the games. Don't use Daniel Jones as a runner. And then all of a sudden, Daniel Jones just decides maybe he's going to run. Maybe they run some design plays for him to run. And he is moderately successful at it. He's been the leading rusher for this team 2 weeks in a row. So I guess he's a thrilling success when you compare him to the rest of the running game on this team. But Garrett just doesn't seem to have any concept. It looks like he hasn't called plays in several years, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's just terrible. I'm sitting here, we're taping this Monday night. I'm sitting here watching the Chiefs,
the
Ravens game. I mean, the Chiefs run all these crazy plays, motion, trick plays. Guys are wide open. The Giants look like they're got the playbook from Little Giants in 1997.
They play prehistoric football.
Run the goddamn annexation of Puerto Rico.
They play prehistoric football, and they have a prehistoric general manager who's running the ship. And until they bring in an outside voice and the Maras bring this organization into, forget the future, I'll just take maybe 3 years ago at this particular point. They're going to be stuck in this place where they just look like a relic, dinosaurs. That's really all they are at this particular point.
This becomes an insignificant question with everything that's going on in East Rutherford, but are the Giants special teams any better this year now that they're being run by a guy who's a special teams coach?
Well, here's the trick. The tricky thing is that they have the same special teams coaches, despite bringing in Joe Judge as a special teams guy to be the head coach. They have the same special teams coaches they've had since the assistant coach, Tom Quinn, has been there since Coughlin was here. So they're not great. They're not world beaters. They're competent.
All right.
And let me say this,
but it's
Evan Ingram, you suck. God damn, he is terrible.
That
it's now gotten to the point where if Jones throws him the ball, it's an interception because he can't run a route. I mean, this is a first round pick. I don't know.
Fourth year in the league.
I'm just distraught. John Mara, you're just ruining our lives. I don't know what else to say. Jack, Jets.
Yeah, let's talk
about the Jets.
Let's go further into the misery pit.
I mean, when was the last time the Jets and Giants were this bad? I mean, it's obvious. It's probably the 70s.
They're 28. They're 28 and 74 combined since 2017.
That's incredible.
28 and 74.
So, as I said last week, it was getting close to rock bottom, and we were getting there, and we're there. It's actually rock bottom, and there's lots going on in Jets land because when you clang off rock bottom, things happen. The rumor is that Adam Gase is literally coaching for his job every week here on out. So if he loses on Thursday night, I assume they're going to, he'll probably get shit canned on Friday morning. Greg Williams will be the interim. You know, I think they need to get Adam Gase out of the building. I mean, everything's broken. So, but I'd rather get rid of him than just, if you're going to coach out the string, like Greg Williams do it.
Trevor Lawrence Bowl on Thursday.
Yeah, so they've got no talent. They've got the two guys. They got Quinn Williams on D, looks good, and Mekhi Becton looks great, and that's about it. I think if they, obviously if they get the first pick, they're taking Trevor Lawrence. The short list. So there's also news, obviously, with the rumor that Gase is gone. A short list of coaches there. A lot of people talking about Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans, is a name that's been coming up a lot. Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs. Greg Roman, speaking of tonight's game, the offensive coordinator for the Ravens. None of them thrill me. I guess I would roll the dice with Bieniemy if I had to pick between those three guys.
I think it's got to be.
Do they go get a college guy that nobody's thinking of? I mean, Ryan Day is pretty
obvious. What about Mike Leach?
Hey, incredible. 623 yards with a guy that Stanford didn't want. And again, I'm not a tweeter. I'm not a tweeter, but I did send tweets in 2011 including one about Mike Leach should have been the Maryland coach. I stand by that 9 years later. So who gets that job? Could it be a college dark horse we're not thinking of? Ryan Day's there. I think the home run move here would be to offer Dabo Swinney whatever he wants. Take Trevor Lawrence first and then hire Dabo Swinney. And, Joe Douglas can stay around. I mean, Joe Douglas is a half powerful GM now. I mean, he got picked by the coach. So that wouldn't change if they brought in a coach and kept Douglas around. Good thing about this is with those 2 picks, the Jets could possibly pick first. The Seahawks will pick 30, 31, 32, it looks like right now.
Yeah.
So Jets could have 3 picks in the top 33. And that says Trevor Lawrence, Pat Freiermuth, and the best receiver on the board to me. And that's how you rebuild an offense real quick. So we'll see what happens. But it's rock bottom. Everyone is, Francesa's going nuts. Everybody's calling for Gase's head. He got the dreaded vote of confidence 2 weeks ago. So we've already passed that stage. But Sam Darnold looks like another, he looks 80% worse than he did, 2 years ago. It's incredible how much he regresses just from week to week, how much he regresses. His first pass this week was a pick 6. He later threw another pick 6 in the game. He threw 3 picks total. It's just disaster in Florham Park.
Which franchise is in worse condition right now?
Wow.
I think it's the Jets. They have no history of winning, and at least the Mares have proven that they somewhat know what they're doing. I worry that the Jets problem goes back.
Wellington Mare.
Yeah, true, but the Jets problems run deeper and longer. That's what she said, but deeper, but maybe, I don't know. But Jones still looks less broken than Darnold.
Give him a couple of weeks. He looked pretty broken in that 49ers game.
Andrew Thomas and Mekhi Becton are equal. You know what I mean?
Giants. Giants. I mean, you got maybe Saquon coming back. Darius Slayton's not bad.
They can't even take these reasonable pieces and assemble a team that does anything because they're wedded to this archaic identification that Gettleman insists on them having.
Yeah, they do run a prehistoric. I mean,
when's Gettleman getting fired? Why has he not been fired yet?
So what happens now when Gettleman gets fired? Does Joe Judge stay? Is he going to keep his job and they're going to hire a GM to go over him? Or what happens?
They're not going to fire Joe Judge.
I think so. I don't think they're going to fire Joe Judge.
When's the bye week?
I think the common wisdom seems to be is that they allow Gettleman to exit gracefully, let him retire for health reasons or spend time with the grandkids or something like that. For general managers, unless you're afraid he's going to pull another stupid Leonard Williams trade type situation in the middle of this season, which is always a valid risk. I was going to ask you when you mentioned Quinn Williams, that seems like what's his contract situation because Gettleman may be calling up to offer some more first-round picks.
He's under rookie team control. He's only in his second year. If you guys want to flip us a 1 and a 2 for Quinn Williams, we'll make that deal.
Don't tempt him, but I think they at least he rides out the rest of the season. He's never heard from in the middle of the season anyway, so he just remains unaccountable because they just kind of protect him and shield him for whatever reason. I think if it happens at the end of the season. I just get scared of the fact that they hit rock bottom this early. Maybe they get a little bit healthier in the middle of the season. Schedule gets a little bit easier, and they find some excuse to keep this dinosaur lurking around in the swamp.
No, they can't. I will burn every Giants piece of paraphernalia I have on this podcast if they don't get rid of them.
You'll burn it on the actual live podcast?
Yeah.
That I'd like to see.
I mean, what else are we going to,
right. Is there a young up and comer who's Giant related or Giant organization adjacent that is a clear candidate? I don't know anybody who's young in the personnel field and isn't old school that the Giants could bring home because the Mariners do love the family atmosphere.
Whoever it is, they really owe it to themselves to go outside that box this time. I read recently that they promoted Kevin Abrams to assistant GM. I'm afraid they're going to bring him. He's been around forever. But as we discussed last week, I think, the family is in the front office. They got Chris Mara sitting there in a very powerful position. I think he's the VP of player personnel or something of that nature. they need to neutralize that voice and go outside the box and get some new opinions on the way they run things. It's very similar. It seems very similar to the Wilpons, although with no silver lining that the Wilpons at least left the Mets. It seems like a very similar situation. It's just a family who's ingrained in the culture of this particular team that is not listening or heeding any advice to get out of the way and let the football people do the football.
Right.
They just don't know how to get out of their own way. And maybe that early success, with Jerry Reese, when John Mara was just taking over the team from his father, maybe that early success kind of ruined things because he thinks that he knows what he's doing when it's very clear now at this point he does not.
Well, I'll give you guys the silver lining. If the Jets and Giants both go 0-16, and they're the only two teams that do that, the New York Giants will get the first overall pick because the Jets have the toughest strength of schedule. So anybody who finishes...
Yeah, but that changes every week.
It does, but I saw that somebody ran out the calculations that it would be hard for the Jets not to put themselves in a situation where they pick last amongst tied teams.
I just want to take this moment to pick on the three things that just were extremely disturbing to me throughout this game. And then I'm just going to be done with the Giants at this particular point. The first thing is that no matter how many bums they seem to pick up off the street or in the draft, nobody seems to be a competent second cornerback for this team. They tried Isaac Yiadom this week, didn't work. The 49ers went after Darnay Holmes every chance that they got, and they were getting everything wide open. The second thing is that I mentioned how there's like a bunch of quadruple A talent on this team. None more obvious to me than supposed starters Julian Love and Devontae Downs. Downs got on the field this week and just was a
Devontae gave up a lot of first downs.
I think he may have had the worst grade of all time on PFF this week. And the third thing is another thing that I mentioned last week is why is Eli Penny continually active on game days for this team? He plays less than 5 snaps a game. I maybe he plays on special teams and I just don't notice it. I'm going to hope that's what the situation is, because that's a roster spot that's just being taken up by a guy who maybe plays a handful more snaps than your kicker. It's just indicative of how lost the brain trust really is.
Dan, let me see your game day roster management and let me raise it. The Jets on Sunday had 4 wide receivers active.
I'm going to text you about this.
4 cornerbacks active and 4 quarterbacks active. I mean, what the fuck are they doing? Peyton Manning literally called, I'm going to lose it. Peyton Manning just called Christopher Johnson and said, hey, hire this Adam Gase guy. I think he's a good dude and seems smart. And they hired him.
It's ridiculous.
He lost. He was the losing coach of a division rival when you hired him too.
Why would you have 4? I mean, that doesn't even make sense.
I know, because
what is happening? How did we get ourselves in this situation? Why would you have seriously, what's a possible reason to have 4
no fucking idea.
quarterbacks?
Maybe they were going to run a 2 quarterback system on the field. I'm surprised they hit rock bottom. They might
in case the headsets go out, like
Nebraska
in the 80s. They were just going to run running backs into the game with the play, and they needed to make sure they had enough guys to shuffle in the plays. I have no idea. But this is the shit that goes on, which is why
was one of the quarterbacks Taysom Hill's brother maybe or something like that?
No. And none of those quarterbacks can do anything but stand back there and throw. So it's not like it's a Taysom Hill or a Cordell Stewart, no, it makes absolutely, I can't.
Well, they're both. They must both be drinking the same water up there in North Jersey. When it's from Florham Park, it goes directly to the shadow of Giant Stadium over there in East Rutherford, because they just gone loco.
How about the NFC East though? My goodness, that division is horrible. North Jersey style garbage fire is what it is. I feel good about my Cowboys pick and good about my call that the Eagles are going to suck. But
the shameful thing is you could feel good about any one of our picks because they're all in the same morass pit of despair.
Pick. I'll go on record saying that right now. So
you don't feel good about the Giants winning the division pick?
I don't know what else to say, boy. If you're a Jets or a Giants fan and you're watching this, hopefully Hopefully this is some, therapy for you.
If the Jets pick first and the Giants get the second pick, what do they do?
I don't know that. I mean, I don't know that it matters. They're just so bad.
A new fresh GM, does he trade out and accumulate or take the best player available?
Here's one thing they shouldn't do is draft another offensive player, because the last 4 drafts they drafted offensive players and they can't score more than 13 points in a fucking game this year. It's ridiculous.
I mean, Jason Garrett, I mean, I don't know. They're just so bad. I don't know that any one player is going to make it different. I mean, this seems like it's going to take years and years to fix.
Patrick Surtain.
It better not, because it's taken years and years off of my life to get to this point.
Dan, they just got smoked by the 49ers backups.
How many Super Bowls have the Giants won since 86? Is it 4 or 5?
It's 4.
Right?
4.
Okay. So
4 been to 5.
Right. Okay. So it's 4 and been there 5 times. So, that's hard to do. I'm just saying
it's hard to do, but I think this is even harder to do, to take all that success in that period of time and piss it all away and basically flush it down the toilet so far underneath the earth you can't even see it or smell it or anything at this point. Well, actually, you know what? I can smell it, and it's not good. Boy, it's amazing. It's amazing. Somebody's going to write a book about this in a couple of years, and it's going to be a great read.
I mean, is one of these teams going to go 0-16?
The Jets have a strong. Have you guys watched any of them actually play?
Yeah, I'm not sure how they win a game.
I don't know how they win. Who do they beat? Maybe Denver on Thursday. Who's going to start? Driscoll?
It reeks of a situation where they fire Gaze in the middle of the year, and they, Greg Williams or whoever they put as the interim coach rallies the team and figures enough out to be able to win them a game. Because
how did the Giants almost beat the Steelers? I mean, how did that happen?
It was week 1, and Ben's arm looks like it was still rehabbing.
He's just getting loose.
It was the same thing with the Bears. If Trubisky was maybe 20% more accurate with some of his throws, they would have gotten destroyed in that game.
Yeah.
If Roethlisberger was accurate in the first half, they would have gotten destroyed by the Steelers.
Yeah. I cannot wait for the Big Ten football schedule to begin.
That's what happens when
we won't have to watch or pay attention to this crap when they're 0-9.
We got to get through. What do we got? 3 more shows I think we got to get through before we get to the Big Ten. I don't know. Honestly, at this point, I don't know how we're going to get there.
It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard, but we're going to make it through together, boys. We're going to make it through together, all right? Misery loves company.
Next week's podcast, we'll talk about music. We'll talk about movies, whatever you guys want. As long as it's
East Coast. Email us suggestions on what you want to hear. Let's end it there, boys, on the football talk.
Close that book.
Complete misery.
Yeah. At least somebody's got a playoff team in the baseball.
Hopefully somebody, one of those teams can at least make a first half game, make a game of it in the first half next week. Give us something to talk about. Let's move on to baseball. We're taping on Monday. Playoffs start tomorrow. Unfortunately for you boys, Nats and Mets didn't make it. Any last words before we talk playoffs?
I did predict that the Nats were going to play spoiler last week, so they not only spoiled things for the Phillies, they really spoiled things for the Mets, because the Mets, the situation would have broken. If the Mets would have won, I think maybe all 3 from the Nats, if not 2 of 3 from the Nats in that final weekend series, the Mets would have had the cards break right for them, and they would have made the playoffs.
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
I feel fine about the Nats. They got a plan. They won 6 out of the last 8. You're right, Dan. They did end up playing a little bit of a spoiler. They got a clear plan, though. They re-signed Rizzo. They re-signed Davey Martinez. They know where they're set in the lineup.
Congrats to Davey on a new contract. Well deserved.
They got 3 stars. They know they need a 4th starter. They need 2 bullpen arms. They need a starting outfielder. Interesting, in the last week of the season, by the way, I don't know if you guys saw, Juan Soto played right field the last week of the year.
I did notice that.
And then Davey kind of hinted that, hey, maybe they're free agents out there. I'm not sure who it is. It's a good. There's some good but not great options.
Marcell Ozuna. That's who.
So the thing is, Marcell Ozuna can't catch. Marcell Ozuna is
that's a problem.
Gives a shit.
Major league outfielder.
He's a 10 defender on the scale. I mean, he doesn't even make the scale.
Gives a shit. That guy can hit the ever-loving snot out of the baseball.
I think Rizzo's got his eyes on.
He's going to win an MVP this year.
I think it's either George Springer or Michael Brantley that Rizzo's got his eyes on, but they know what they need to do. The foundation is set. The owners aren't going anywhere. It was a tough, weird season, but we're still the world defending champs. Baseball is always better when there's spring training in March and opening day in April, and we'll leave it at that.
And my last parting shot, other than the spoiler note, is that the season was all worth it for the Mets just to get the potential for Stevie Cohen to come in and fumigate the ever-loving shit out of the Mets front office and ownership offices. It was all worth it just for the possibility of him closing out that deal. Bringing Sandy Alderson back, like to move to bring Sandy back. That's really all that's looking good for the future for the Mets.
Yeah, now the future is bright. Uncle Stevie, call us.
Moneybags, call us.
All right, boys. So American League kicks off tomorrow. We're going to give you guys our ALCS, NLCS predictions, World Series, and we'll give you the champions, each of our champions. But before we get into that, anyone got any big upsets in the first round, AL or NL?
I guess you could say that the biggest upset that I have is the Marlins over the Cubs.
Yeah, I got the same. I got the Marlins beating the Cubs.
I could not believe the Cubs were in a playoff position. I got the impression all year that they were pretty bad, yet somehow they were successul.
Really? They were winning the division the entire year. Did you just not look at the standings?
We're talking about the Chicago Cubs, right?
I don't really, this is an East Coast bias, all right? I don't reach over to the Central when I look at the standings. But they're not a very good team.
Popular, they're a popular team in an area known as the Midwest, which is not west, but west of here.
They're not good enough to get on my radar. And everything I read was about how everybody was struggling with the team. Javi Baez didn't really have a great year. Chris Bryant, I think, had more fingers than he had RBI this year.
He did not have a good year. Neither did Javi.
And the pitching was never really that good when I was looking at it. I just don't know how they put it together with Smoke.
They don't have a good bullpen either. So I kind of understand what you're saying, but they got a lot of talent.
I have 2 7 seeds in the championship series.
Really? So let's say with the first round. So you got the Reds knocking off the Braves.
My upset picks would be both 7 seeds in the first round. I like the Reds over the Braves. The Braves starting pitching worries me. I know they can hit a little bit, but if you can neutralize,
they can hit a lot.
Yes, they can. But if you can get Acuna out in one game and Freeman out in the other, as long as they both don't go off in the same 3-game series, you got a chance. I like the Reds pitching. I believe pitching in these short series matters so much more. And then I just think the Sox got a fun, young, carefree, playing with house money sort of vibe. And the A's are going to be without superstar third baseman Matt Chapman, which I think makes a huge difference. He's done for the year. So I like both those 7 seeds. Can't believe I'm saying 7 seeds in a baseball playoff discussion. I like Stephen F. Austin over the Oakland A's in the 5-12 matchup.
I do have to issue a correction of last week's show. I thought Manfred said he was wanted to stick with 16-team playoff. I did hear him on Mad Dog later last week after our show, and he said he wants expanded playoffs, but definitely not 16 teams next year. So I apologize to the commissioner for getting that wrong there, but he's on board with us. All right, so Jack, you got the Reds pulling the upset. Matos and I got both have the Marlins pulling the upset, and then in the American League, Jack, you got the White Sox pulling the upset. I got that. I like them as well over the A's. Matos, any American League upsets for you in the first round?
No, I went straight down the line. I like the White Sox pick, and I would agree with you if they weren't playing in Oakland. I think they lose a lot of their spunkiness and their power playing in a bigger ballpark like the O.Co Coliseum.
They ended the season horribly too.
Yeah,
White Sox,
and Oakland is good. So I didn't agree there. One other upset guy. One other slight upset I had was the Cardinals over the Padres, but that's a 4-5. I don't really know that I call that an upset, but the Padres, another team that got really banged up at the end of the year and didn't play as well at the end of the year as they were in maybe the middle part of the season.
But what a franchise they're set up to be all of a sudden.
They've got a great amassing of talent.
Yes.
Was a huge step forward year for them. unfortunately for them, they have to play in the same division as the best team in the majors, the Los Angeles Dodgers.
So I've been to San Diego before. I've never been in the stadium. It's right downtown where everything is. It looks like the sort of place where if they got good, it could explode.
Be a little bopping down there in downtown San Diego.
And great uniform change this year, going back
to 100%.
Brown and yellow.
Them and the Brewers with their uniform changes this year. Both very strong changes for both teams. I like that a lot.
Beautiful. All right, boys, let's start in the NL. Jack, give us your NLCS prediction for 2020.
My NLCS prediction. In the top of the bracket, I like the Dodgers. Yep. And as I just said, I like the Cincinnati Reds in the bottom. So I'm going to go with the big favorites, the Dodgers, and I like the Reds to get by on their pitching. And then I'm gonna pick.
All right, hold your World Series.
Okay.
All right, Matos, over to you. NLCS prediction.
NLCS Dodgers getting in over the Cardinals. That seems to me to be pretty obvious. The Dodgers are just too good. And I have the Braves over the Marlins in an NL East matchup. So it's Dodgers-Braves in the NLCS for me.
Okay. Christian, who you got in the NL?
Yeah, and I got the same. I got chalk in the NL. I got the Dodgers easily getting to NLCS, and I got the Braves in the bottom half of the bracket. I think Reds will give them a little bit of trouble, as will the Marlins, but I think it's the Dodgers and the Braves in the NLCS. Matos, you got in the ALCS.
ALCS, I got the Rays beating the Indians. I got the A's beating the Twins. So it's A's Rays for a little rhyme time in the ALCS.
More chalk.
All right.
Not a bold call by any means, but two very good teams. And what I think is the weaker league.
I'm way off the board here then. I'm going my NLCS.
ALCS.
I'm sorry, the ALCS. Sorry. For the championship series. I got the White Sox going. I think the White Sox are going to nip the Twins. And then I've got the Cleveland Indians coming out of the top. I'm going with the Biebs. Give me the best player in baseball.
Certainly a great pitching staff. Not a great offense though for the
they go hot and cold offensively, but if I'm gonna hitch my wagon to a pitching staff, I'm gonna go with theirs. I just can't tell what's going on with the Yankees. Some days they look like they could win it all and in a walk, and some days they look like they can't do anything right. And I just
maddeningly inconsistent.
Yep, and I just don't trust Tampa Bay. So I'm gonna go with the Cleveland Indians and the Chicago White Sox. I've got a thoroughly Midwestern trending Final Four here.
Yeah. No, and I like it because I've got the same. I've got the ALCS. I got the Indians versus the White Sox.
Look at that.
Just the Indians, they just got too much pitching. They actually remind me of the Nats of last year. You know, you got Bieber, Carrasco, Plesac, Savali is a good fourth. And then they got that rookie, Tristan McKenzie. I don't know if they plan on using him as a starter, but if not, he's going to be a super weapon out of the bullpen. And I agree, Matos, the Indians, they don't have a great offense. But Lindor struggled all year. He strikes me as the type of player he's gonna. He could come out of nowhere in the playoffs. Jose Ramirez is
Ramirez had the MVP type year, playing MVP hurt
candidate. And they got Santana. That's with the long ball. So, but bottom line, the Indians, their pitching is just too good. They've got exactly what you need to do well in the playoffs. So I've got an Indians, White Sox, ALCS. Jack, what's your World Series matchup?
Let's keep talking about the Indians pitching because I'm going to go with the Cleveland Indians to represent the AL in this year's Fall Classic. And I'm sticking with the chalk on the NL. I think the Dodgers are that good. Going with the LA Dodgers and the Cleveland Indians for my 2020 World Series matchup.
All right, I'll go next because I have the same World Series matchup. I think it's the Indians versus the Dodgers. Dodgers are just too good. I mean, that lineup is just absolutely loaded. And they've got the pit. I don't even know who they're going to use as their third starter, if it's Urias or the other rookie. But, man, they are just absolutely loaded. So I've got an Indians-Dodgers World Series as well. Matos, how about you?
Well, before I get to that, I just wanted about the Indians' offense. I think their big problem is they platoon with underwhelming guys in the outfield, and then they keep putting Carlos Santana or the ghost of Carlos Santana in the cleanup spot. I think he batted cleanup damn near every game for them. Hit below 200, didn't hit too many home runs. He's an on-base machine, but he doesn't drive in runs. So I think for as long as they keep batting him fourth, they're not just going to score too many runs. The pitching staff 100% agree with you. It's great. Just don't see enough out of the offense. But as to my World Series, I got the A's beating the Rays in the AL. I got the Dodgers over the Braves. It's a clean sweep. It's an easy call in the NL this year. Dodgers over the Braves in the NL. So the World Series for me, a little West Coast California feeling, north with the A's, south with the Dodgers.
Dan, A's versus the Rays.
Show is called East Coast Bias, Dan. East Coast Bias.
Brother. I got to call him like I see him. I wish I would call it for somebody for the East Coast, but I don't see it happening.
Right. You gave us a rhyming ALCS. You gave us the breakdown of the Seattle Seahawks last week.
And I botched the joke. It's Seattle Seahawks and Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, sorry.
Is what the inconsistent. No, I botched it originally, so I want to put it out on the record and correct myself.
There you go.
All right,
about 3 weeks too late.
Another apology. Email that out to all 12 listeners as well.
All right, Matos. Who you got?
Keeping it 100 with the public.
Who takes down the 2020 World Series, Matos?
Dodgers in a walk. I can't imagine we're going to differ too much on this one. They've built up to this point. They've been building this team over the last couple of years. The final piece was the just absolutely outstanding acquisition of Mookie Betts, who may have played himself into MVP contention to win it in the NL this year. What don't they have? They have everything. And they got a bench full of guys who could just go out and be just as good as the guys they have starting. And the pitching in overwhelming amounts, old, young, doesn't matter. They're the class of Major League Baseball, and it's their World Series to lose.
All right, Jack.
One thing I've learned as a Nats fan is that you can have the better talent and not always win the series. And the other thing we know is that money can't buy happiness. I'm going with the upset. The Cleveland Indians are going to win the 2020 World Series. The Dodgers heartbroken again.
Oof.
Shane Bieber, man, he is one of these guys. You know how you turn on a playoff game? Either it's usually game 1 or game 4 or game 7 to do or die. And you watch one of the starters and he gets the first 4 outs and you just think to yourself, no one is getting a hit. I don't know how someone's going to score. He's so set up to do that. I think he's going to win whatever games he pitches, and especially if they're early in the series, they get you going. They'll throw twice in a World Series. I think Cleveland has just enough pitching to win the series, even with that Dodgers lineup.
A little freaked out by the Indians bullpen. As a little suspect back there. I don't think Brad Hand, their closer, gave up a home run the entire season.
Yeah,
it seems like that's just willing to blow up right in their faces at the worst possible time.
Yeah, that's like the people who say an NCAA team should lose a game before the tournament. I mean, not if you can win all of them.
Well, hey, I'm not telling them to turn around and throw it in the outfield like Trevor Bauer. But
speaking of which, on the pregame for the football game tonight, somebody was saying that Lamar Jackson, and really to prove himself, he needed to throw the Ravens back into a game by coming back, and that he just hasn't been able to prove it. And the guy's entire point was that the Ravens have kicked the shit out of so many people already while Lamar Jackson's been there that they've never fallen behind enough for him to have to throw them back into a game. And the point is to win. So it doesn't really matter if you have to come back and do it. Like, if you're beating up NFL teams so badly, you've never been put in that position, that's not a bad thing. So
just unfair criticism.
Yeah.
And I want to know who the author of that hot take was.
And I'm going to go with the Dodgers over the Indians in the 2020 World Series. Dodgers is too much talent. I think the Indians will make a series of it with that pitching, as you said, Jack, but Dodgers will take down the World Series championship. And let me ask you this. In your mind, is it a real World Series championship in 2020?
No.
Yes. I say that it is. They made it through the entire season. I didn't think they were going to make it past 4 weeks. It looks real dicey right now when the Marlins and the Cardinals situations came up within a week of each other. I think it's real. The playoff chase felt like a playoff chase, despite the fact that half the teams made it. It's going to feel real to the fans. And certainly if the Indians, like Jack predicted, win the World Series, it's definitely going to feel real to them.
They haven't won a series since '48, so of course it's going to feel real.
And that's why it's real.
But if they'd gotten to 82 games, maybe I'd feel differently about this. It's just weird. It's not the timing so much to me as that 60 games is, with what we've established as a Major League Baseball season being, it's hard to think of this as not having some sort of asterisk next to it. But I also might be saying that because I'm a little annoyed that this was the follow-up season for the Nats after winning the title. But, we're all entitled to an opinion. Mine's right, but we're all entitled to an opinion.
Yeah, I think for me, with my team still being in it, I don't think it's going to feel like a real World Series, especially watching it. Where are they going to be? They're going to be seeing where are they going to play the World Series? Have they said yet?
In the new ballpark down in Arlington, where the
Texas Rangers play.
I believe so. Yes.
So I just can't imagine watching the Yankees play a World Series in Arlington, Texas. With no fans, is gonna feel the same if they do make it there. I'm gonna have to agree with Jack on this one. I don't think this is a real World Series. I think this forever will be asterisked.
I forgot about that they're doing it at a neutral site too. That makes it.
You got to do there was too much pressure. The NHL and the NBA have provided such a good way. It's the only way you can guarantee you're going to make it to it without an embarrassing situation. So they had to do it.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's the wrong decision, but I just think it just makes it will make it feel even more. I think if they could play the World Series in the two parks, even without fans, I think that would make it feel much more real for me. But excuse me, the fact that they're going to play in Arlington, Texas with no fans, that's just gonna make it even worse than it already feels. But let's hope the Yankees are there. I do think if they can get by Cleveland in that first round, I think they got a good shot of going all the way, or at least getting to face the Dodgers in the World Series. But as I've said, I don't think they'll get past the Indians in that first round.
I think I want to see if it comes down to an elimination game in those late innings. I think you're going to be sitting on the edge of your seat. I
don't disagree with that.
You're going to watch every game like it matters.
I'm going to watch every game. I'm excited for tomorrow, but I'm not saying I'm going to have no interest. It's just not going to feel the same.
At the end, it may not feel the same. What time do the Yankees play tomorrow?
Colt versus Bieber tomorrow,
I think.
8:00. They got the night game.
I mean, this is going to be awesome, though. This is going to be at least for the next couple of days. We're going to have wall-to-wall playoff baseball.
Wednesday is just going to be an absolute.
Every hour a game starts, right?
The NCAA tournament of baseball. What a great, quirky kind of thing out of this season is Wednesday going to be.
That's true, because there may not be a better day in all of sports than the first day of the NCAA Men's Division I basketball tournament.
Nope.
So to take the baseball playoffs and sort of do that.
Well, the same thing.
It
was great when they had it going for hockey. There was just wall-to-wall hockey all day long. Looking forward to that same feeling, although I don't really have much to root for. I'll be rooting for some good baseball, that's for sure. And it is Cole versus Bieber for game one.
One of these 16 teams to win, which that you would like to see win, which team would you go with, Jack?
That's a good one, because there's some teams that I don't really like that I wouldn't want to see win.
I'm gonna say the Twins or the Reds because I have a monetary interest in both teams.
I knew that,
but I'm gonna go with the Reds if I could pick any team to win.
Yeah, you know who I'd like to see win if anybody could win it? The San Diego Padres. Never won a World Series. That's why.
Yeah.
If you're gonna get, let there be some joy in San Diego. Think about going to baseball games in San Diego. The bars are boring, and the wait staff and the bartenders that work there, they're all so unattractive that I can barely stay there and drink beer. It's incredible. But yeah, that would be fun to see the Padres win it. I don't mind. I actually like the Twins. I always have. I like their uniforms. That wouldn't be bad. As long as it's not. I hate the Blue Jays. Don't want to see them win it. Don't want to see the Braves win it. Don't want to see the Marlins or the Cubs win it. Don't want to see the Cardinals win. The Brewers, I wouldn't mind. Shout out to family out in Milwaukee. I wouldn't mind seeing them.
All right, we got your team. Dan, how about Dan? What's your team?
Yeah, sorry, that's all my teams. There we go.
Yeah,
that's good. Good thought process. You clued us in there. I felt like I was inside your brain walking through.
Talk, Russ. Good talk, Russ. Good talk.
I couldn't stand to see anybody from the NL win it. I think I hate every other team in the NL. I'll give the Dodgers their respect, but I hate every other team in the NL. The Tampa Bay Rays, I don't know why. I have this weird fascination with the Tampa Bay Rays.
Would anyone
I like them as a good.
Would anyone in Tampa? Could they have a parade? If
I would,
it's not for COVID,
right?
They had a parade, but anyone show up.
I would. It's a fascinating organization for a team that has absolutely no fans and no real following in their native area. Wild philosophy. They win on the cheap. They do it almost better than anybody else. They find all these hidden gem players. They find pitchers growing on trees somewhere outside the stadium. It's just I don't want to say wacky, but they're an interesting organization. And I'd like to see their organizational process triumph.
Move the team to Montreal already.
Yeah, already.
Move them somewhere out of there. Don't build them a new stadium down there.
It drives me nuts when a team has a clean slate from which to build an identity, and you end up with a name like Tampa Bay Rays because you drop a word and you have uniforms that look like a softball teams. You know what I mean? Like
from the aesthetic, to the surface, right. To the surface look of the team. It's just none of that is appealing, but I like their organizational philosophy.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's our World Series predictions. We'll see what happens. Playoffs start tomorrow. Go Yanks.
It's going to be exciting.
Definitely one team I don't want to see win it either. So I hate the NL, and I definitely don't want to see the Yankees win it either.
And that's it. That's the end to a very somber edition of East
Finished
Coast
on a
Bias
high note, though.
To the Mara and Johnson families of New York.
I'm thinking about moving to Pittsburgh or I don't know, something.
Get your act, yeah. Get your acts together. You're literally, this is all we have.
Give us something to root for.
All we have is looking forward to Sunday, and you're absolutely killing us. Get your acts together, boys. I don't know what else to say.
We implore you.
Give us something.
Yeah, we'll talk about sports movies next week. Though we're gonna both get crushed, and we'll figure it out.
Couple weeks to the Big
Shotgun
10.
Air Bud.
And again, that's it for a very, very somber edition of East Coast Bias. Until next week, like our video, subscribe to our page, and we'll be back hopefully with a better edition, with a much more exciting edition, talking about some winning teams. Until next time, in the next edition of East Coast Bias.